Most POD sellers are making the same expensive mistake on repeat. And the worst part? They have no idea they're doing it. It's called decision debt. Every niche you abandoned too early. Every listing you deleted before it had a real chance. Every strategy you torched after 2 weeks because it didn't blow up fast enough. Every time you rebuilt from scratch instead of fixing what was already there. All of that is still on your balance sheet. You just can't see it. And here's what makes this brutal. Decision debt doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up as a big obvious failure. It shows up as a shop that never quite gets traction. Designs that feel like they should be working. Months that look almost right but never actually break through. You keep thinking you're one niche away or one product away or one design away. You're not. Chasing that one unicorn product or listing is terrible advice. You are one better decision away. And that starts with knowing which decisions have actually been costing you. That's what this video is about. So let's actually dig into this because decision debt isn't one thing. It shows up in 3 specific places. And once you can see them, you can't unsee them. The first one is niche instability. How many niches have you been in? Be honest. Not how many you're in right now. How many have you tried, tested for a few weeks, decided weren't working, and walked away from? Because here's what I know after 14 years of doing this. Most niches don't fail. Most sellers leave before the niche has a chance to pay them back. Data on Etsy listing maturity is actually uncomfortable. Most best sellers, the listings that are pulling consistent sales month after month, take anywhere from 6 to 18 months to hit their stride. 6 to 18 months. And you're out here making niche decisions based on like 3 or 4 weeks of data. That's not a strategy. That's panic dressed up a strategy. Now, the second place decision debt shows up is listing graveyard syndrome. You've got deleted listings, maybe a lot of them. And I get it. Feels like you're cleaning house and staying focused, cutting what isn't working. But here's what you're actually doing. Every time you delete a listing, you're erasing data. You're erasing the algorithm's understanding of your shop. You're resetting a clock that was already running. The sellers I see breaking through consistently, they're not deleting, they're refining. There's a massive difference between those two things. Now, the third one is the strategy carousel. This one's going to sting a little. New tool, new platform, new method, new guru, and every few weeks, something shinier shows up and the last thing gets dropped. I've been guilty of this one myself. I'll be honest about that. But here's what the strategy carousel actually costs you. It doesn't just waste time. It resets your learning curve every single time. You never get good at anything because you never stay with anything long enough to get the data that tells you if it's actually working. 3 places: niche instability, listing graveyard syndrome, and the strategy carousel. Pick one right now that you know is costing you. Just one, because awareness is where this turns around. So why does this keep happening? Why do smart people, like people who genuinely want to build something real, keep falling into the same loops? Here's the psychology on this. And I want you to really hear this part because it changed how I think about my own business. There's a concept called the sunk cost fallacy, and it works in reverse for most PODers. Normally, sunk cost means people hold on to things too long because they've already invested in them. We've seen this in new POD shops that were once handmade makers. Maybe they have all this, stuff built up or things that they've created, and they feel like they just can't let it go because they've sunk money into it and time and resources, but it's just sitting there collecting dust. It's doing nothing. But in POD, it flips because there's no physical inventory, no warehouse, no upfront cash outlay, really, not a lot anyway. The psychological cost of quitting feels like 0. You got nothing to lose, right? So people quit early, constantly. And it feels costless to walk away, so they do it over and over again. Not realizing that the real cost isn't money. It's momentum. It's data. It's the time the algorithm needed to figure out who you were and what you were selling. And layered on top of that is what psychologists call present bias. Our brain's hardwired tendency to overvalue what's happening right now and undervalue what's coming later. A slow week feels like a dead shop. A quiet month feels like proof that the whole thing isn't working. You know what I'm talking about. Your brain isn't broken. It's just not built for the timeline that building a real business actually requires. This is why the sellers who win aren't necessarily the most talented. They're not even the best designers. They're the ones who understood the game they were actually playing. Long game, compounding game. A game where boring consistency beats brilliant restarts every single time. And that right there is the shift. From reactive to deliberate. You've heard me say to get more intentional. From going emotional editing to actual data-driven decisions. And real quick before we keep going, because this is exactly the kind of stuff we dig into together inside my communities, I run 2 of them. The Shirt Heads is $17 a month. That's where Juna and I take your actual designs and rebuild them to the standard we use in our own shops. Not critiques, not templates, your real work redesigned to actually sell. Juna's moved serious volume into space. Having him in your corner on design alone is worth the price of entry 10 times over. And if you want the full picture, design, strategy, mindset, the decision-making framework we just talked about, the Inner Circle is $47 a month and it's easily worth 4 times what I'm charging. This is where we get into the business of your business. Not just what your designs look like, but why your shop is making the decisions it's making and how to fix them. QR code will be on the screen right now somewhere and the link will be in the top comment. Check it out. So how do you actually start clearing decision debt? Because awareness is great, but it doesn't pay you. Here's the recipe. 3 questions. And I want you to ask these about your shop right now, not someday, not when you have more listings, right now. Question 1, what have I actually given enough time? Not what feels like enough time. What is actually enough time? Because we already established that 6 to 18 months is the real maturity window for a listing on Etsy. So look at your shop. Look at your niches. How many of them have you genuinely committed to for 6 months or more with consistent effort? If the answer is none, you don't have a shop problem. You have a patience problem. And patience is a decision. Question 2, what am I refining versus what am I replacing? This one's brutal because replacing feels like progress. You're doing something. New listing, new niche, new product. It feels like you're moving forward. Refining is quieter. Better mock-up, stronger title, cleaner hierarchy on the design, tighter SEO. But refining is where the compounding actually happens. Every improvement you make to an existing listing is leverage. Every new listing you add instead of refining an existing one is starting from 0 again. And that works, but only if the foundation is there. Question 3, what decision am I making right now from fear versus data? Fear decisions sound like this. This isn't working. Everyone's doing this niche. I need to try something new. The algorithm hates me. Data decisions sound like, my conversion rate on this listing is this. My traffic is coming from here. This title is underperforming compared to this one. Let me test one variable at a time. Fear is loud, data is quiet, and quiet is where the money is. 3 questions. Enough time, refine, not replace, and fear versus data. Run your shop through those 3 filters this week, and I promise you, you'll find at least one decision you're making wrong. Now, I want to ask you something, and I actually want you to answer it in the comments. Which of those 3 is costing you the most right now? Not enough time, replacing instead of refining, or making fear-based decisions instead of data decisions? Type debt in the comments, just that one word. Because I read every single one and it also tells me which of these is hitting the hardest for people actually building real shops. And that's information I use to make more of this kind of content for you. And here's the thing I want to leave you with. Decision debt is not a life sentence. It's not some permanent character flaw. It's just a pattern, and patterns can be interrupted. The fact that you watched this far tells me that you're not looking for hype. You're not looking for a magic niche or a viral product that fixes everything overnight. You're looking to actually build something. And that puts you ahead of probably 80% of the people who start this. But knowing this isn't enough. You have to make a different decision starting today. One decision, not a rebrand, not a new shop, not another new niche. One decision to stop running from the data and start reading it. Your shop isn't broken. Your decision making just needed an upgrade. And now you got one. If this hit, subscribe, because I make this kind of no-fluff business content regularly, and YouTube will keep showing it to you if you tell it you want more. And 70% of you, according to YouTube, are not subscribed. See you in the next one.